Welcome to the Martial Arts Business Success Podcast. We are episode 124, and this is actually the third installment of this four-part series on retention. So, guys, we're going to dive in. We've spoken about, building a community in the last couple. We've spoken about pumping classes. And I guess for retention, we've got to understand that everybody is on their own journey. And I know that initially they may have come for one reason and they've stuck around for a while, but then their developments and the reason why they're staying there is going to be different and varied. Phil, explain.
Yeah, I think, I get it. Martial arts, there's a specific path you travel, otherwise it wouldn't be martial arts. You've got to meet certain requirements, do certain skills to get the belts and progress through the ranks. But what we have to also understand is that, I think gone are the days is that this is the only way. If you want to be a black belt, you do this. If you can't do 100 push-ups, you can't be a black belt. If you can't do this, you can't have that. Do you know what I mean? So the world's changed, and it's not that we're trying to make things easier or adapt to everyone so everyone becomes a black belt, but it's just understanding that everyone is on their own journey. And just because someone might be a little bit later on in their life and they might not be able to rack out the 100 push-ups like a 20-year-old will, well, what can they do? Maybe they got a shoulder injury. Does that mean they can't one day be a black belt? Does that mean that they can't defend themselves? Kids as well. If we look at kids, all kids come from all shapes and sizes, all different backgrounds. Some have mental issues, some have physical issues, some have no issues at all, and it's just about understanding that particular case. And the journey and the path they've got to travel is in this direction, but maybe to customize their journey ever so slightly so that they can continue on the journey. And we always said this, what's not important, the destination is not as important as the journey. And it's to understand that the journey to being a black belt is one that needs to be traveled, and that is one that is met with many barriers and obstacles and challenges and ways to work around them as well.
Yeah, I think for the listeners and also the guys watching this sort of cross, I think as a martial artist who's been training for decades now, that you start to realise that as your body changes and your limitations, you identify that, but you've also got to make sure exactly what you were saying before, Phil, is you need to have your mindset in the right space, that you welcome people, you look at what their goals are, and you push them outside of their comfort zone so they're able to achieve more than they thought they are. But for a 20-year-old versus a 40-year-old versus a 60-year-old, they're all going to be very, very different. Yeah. And for some people to do a high kick or the splits is something they'll find easy. For others, that is a journey that will take a lifelong approach, and some may never even get there. But does that make them any less of a human being? Does that make them any less of a martial artist or a black belt? Because, hey, at the end of the day, the qualities is what we're looking for, not just the physical ability. And I suppose, we're very strict on making sure we produce a very high standard for the student, very high standard for our community, but also we're a realist in going, that is the very best standard for that person. And I don't believe everyone should be tarnished with the same brush because, hey, I just think of how exciting it has been with the hundreds and thousands of people that we've trained over the years that we've helped accomplish goals. And we had to just been inflexible and just go, no, if you don't meet this criteria, the stereotype model, how many would we have lost and how many people have we missed impacting their lives? So, as a retention tool, it's important to have standards. It's important for you guys to want to be the best you can be, but you've also have to have the ability to set some goals that are realistic for each of these guys, and you'll actually find they stay with you a hell of a long while, which is great.
One of our students who's still with us, Dan.
Yep.
What challenges did Dan have, young Dan?
Look, he's one of those guys that had a clear disability as a learning disability as a young man, and I believe he started with us when he was close to 8 years old, or as close to as young as that. He's now well into his 20s. I think he's pushing 22, 23 now. So his complexities.
Why I bring that up is there would have been so many cases. I mean, he's been there since us, on the floor all the time. There would have been so many times in his journey where we just would have said, he's never going to meet that standard. He's not going to be able to do what the kid next to him who's got no issues or challenges can do.
Yep.
But we found ways around it, and to his credit, he adapted and rose to the challenge each time. Yep. And now the person who is today, I just think if he stopped his journey 10 years ago, would his life be better or worse? I don't know, but I just know that he's now an incredible human being who has some amazing life lessons learnt from himself and has become a role model at our martial arts school for other people to look up to, you know?
Yeah, so look, I just think it's really important that you remember everyone's on their own journey, but you've got to have the ability as a leader to cater for that and not sacrifice where you want to go. You've got to still push them just as you would do anyone else, but know what their limits are, and then obviously extend that ever so slightly, you know, stretch those limits. Because, hey, we don't want to just make the bar lower. That's something we don't do. If anything, we want to raise the bar and make people believe they can be better. But to do that, just have one standard is unrealistic.
Yeah.
So, hey, guys, you know, it's all about making an impact and as many people as we possibly can. And as you said, you know, we had one of our students started with us when he was 78 years old and finished training with us when he was 82 years old, so 4 years. And look, we just stopped shy of getting his black belt due to physical ailments and all the rest of it. So again, as you can imagine, a 78-year-old man learning and practicing katas and routines and stuff. He wasn't as supple as the young guys, but he certainly had the heart of a lion. And really, hey, you know, what a proud moment that we're able to help him achieve those goals.
And what was the outcome there, Graham? Obviously, you know, he's not around anymore.
No, that's right.
We got to do something very special.
We did. We helped him get. He always said, and this is it's a bit of a one of those passing comments. He goes, mate, before I'm dead, I want to get my black belt. And he goes, look, I'm getting on in the years, and I'm probably going to not be around very long. So at the end of the day, guys, I want to get a black belt. Unfortunately, he prior to that occasion of occurring, so he passed away, we made sure we gave him an honorary black belt once he'd achieved that sort of brown belt status. So we were able to fulfill a lifelong goal of his prior to him obviously departing this sort of world. So it's a joyful thing to do that, but yeah, pushing pretty hard. And when you talk about retention, man, look, the goodwill we generated from that with our community kept other students a hell of a lot longer because they knew we actually cared about them.
Yeah. So guys, another little call to attention for you as we've sort of finished this podcast about identifying that everyone's on their own journey. Yeah, keep the standards high. Keep people on the path of being the best that they can be. But as we know that me and you can stand side by side and I can experience the most hardest black belt grading and you can go, well, that was quite easy. It's because your journey is different than mine.
That's right.
So we have to understand that, you know, just because the standard is here doesn't mean that Graham couldn't be pushed a little harder in his previous mock gradings and have that same experience as what I did on my actual black belt grading or whatever it may be. So know the journey, know the individual, let them step up, be the very best that they can be. If that means raising the bar in some cases or even lowering the bar, just, you know, maintain your standard, but in your heart of hearts, make sure that you identify that they're all on their own journey.
Awesome. So don't forget, like, share, tag people in this sort of stuff, you know, show your staff. It's what it's all about, guys. It's getting some great content, getting some conversations going. And if you've got any questions, don't forget, hit us up, admin@tima.com.au, or any comments on this sort of page or where you find us is always great. And we can't wait to show you the final installment of this 4-part series coming up very next. So don't forget, log on in, stay tuned, and we'll see you soon.
Ciao.